Welcome to the Tactical Sub. At 18, I have Richmond as the team to win the Wooden Spoon. This should come as no surprise to anyone. They were the worst team in 2024, and now they've lost many of their best and most experienced players from all positions. They have a great draft hand and will have a lot of young players coming through, but I don't think it will be enough to save them from last place. Coming in at 17, we have West Coast. I'd like to have them higher, and they certainly showed some promise, but they lack consistency and rely too heavily on a few players. While I have them coming second last, I actually think they are capable of getting a few more wins than North did when they came 17th this year. Around 5 or 6, I think. Speaking of North, I have them next. I honestly think they show some of the most promise of all teams in the comp. With very competent young players such as Sheasel, Wardlaw, McKercher, Ford and co. Their game style, referenced as North Ball, has been gaining traction and they are on the rise. However, I still think 2025 will be a bit too early for Kangaroos to make any big leaps up the ladder. At 15 is Melbourne. The Demons have an outstanding list, but there is just something not right at the club, I feel. Many players are far underperforming and they crashed down all the way from 4th to 14th last year, and I don't see it any better. There's a reason players like Petracca and Oliver reportedly wanted out of the club. Essendon take 14th for me. I don't want to be controversial or anything, but I find it unlikely that Essendon can contend for finals. No matter how well they start, they always seem to find a way to crumble. The trade period didn't give them much of a boost either, and I just don't see them as an exciting and competitive team. In 13th place is St Kilda. The Saints seem to always place somewhere in this range, and while they actually had a decent season last year coming in 12th, I just don't see them getting much better. Sure, they'll have young players like Philippou and the Wang, but I don't think their progression will be enough to put them in finals contention. I think the Adelaide Crows will finish around 12th. 2024 was a bad year for the club, and I think they will have a bit of a bounce back after a pretty good trade period. Riccelli and Rankine will be more mature and should help the Crows climb slightly up the ladder. With that said, I also don't think the Crows will be seen in September. Now for 11th place, and all of the teams mentioned now I think have a genuine chance of finals. Collingwood is that team. They narrowly missed finals after winning the home and away season along with the premiership the year before, and this downward trend may continue. They did quite well in the trade period, and Dan Houston could be exactly what they need, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pies in finals. Number 10, Gold Coast. Gold Coast were a super weird team this year. They were almost unstoppable at home, but became one of the competition's worst sides when they played away. I can only see them improving on this, and with additions in Noble and Rioli, they could be close to playing finals. Before I get to the top half, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'm putting out heaps of quality AFL and AFL fantasy content, so make sure you don't miss out on any of it. Only 5% of you are actually subscribed, and I reckon we can do a bit better than that. The last team I have missing out on finals is the Giants. They finished in the top 4 in 2024 before going out in straight sets. I still feel they were quite disappointing though, and I can't exactly explain why. Maybe it's because they had to win 7 of their last 8 games to place where they did. They had 4 players leave to other clubs, although 3 were through free agency, so the Giants didn't really want them. Yeah, it's a weird one. I can't really explain why, but I think the Giants might miss finals. They could very well make it, but that's just my guess. Now for the 8 teams to make finals. 8th, I have Freo, who missed finals by the narrowest margins as it came down to the last game of the home and away season. Freo has one of the best lists in terms of young players and potential, and now they are coming into the prime of their career. I expect the Luke Jacksons and Josh Treacy's at the club to get even better, and with Bolton arriving, who they are very excited about, I think we will see Freo in September 2025. At number 7, I have Carlton. Carlton spent much of the season towards the very top of the ladder before crashing down and just making finals. They seem to have a run every year where they have a string of losses, and it costs them. Carlton certainly have the potential to win a flag, and they should gain the exciting Camporeale twins, but they just have a habit of letting their fans down. Although the almost missed finals this year, I do think they are almost certain to make finals though. It would be crazy for that list to not do so. The Sydney Swans are the team I have in 6th place. They had a very interesting season, going from pure dominance to a team who anyone felt a chance against. To be so far clear on the ladder midway through the season to losing the grand final by an embarrassing 60 points, something big went wrong. I don't exactly know what that was. Maybe their game style was just found out by other clubs, but something changed. The Swans certainly have the talent, with the likes of Goulden and Warner running rampant, but they need to maintain consistency if they want to finish better than 6th in 2024. Now, to the Bulldogs, who I have in 5th. The Dogs were one of the more exciting teams who really picked up the pace in the back half of the season. They won 5 of their last 6 and looked like a genuinely good side while doing so. Sure, they've lost Caleb Daniel, Jack Macrae and Bailey Smith, but these players made no big impacts last season anyway, and the Bulldogs did fine without them. From this, they got a few good draft picks and received Matt Kennedy, who I think will be good. I can only see the Dogs being better in 2025. Could it be the year Bont wins the Brownlow? Now, to the top 4. These are teams who will have a second chance in finals, and the 4 most likely to win a flag in my opinion. Coming in 4th, I have Port Adelaide. Some will disagree with this placing, but Port always find a why to finish highly on the ladder and more often than not in the top 4. In fact, in the last 5 AFL seasons, they've finished in the top 4 times, which I believe is the most by any team in that time frame. They are very consistent in the home and away season, and I think supporters treat Ken Hinkley way too harshly for what he's doing with the club. Sure, they have been unfortunate in their finals campaigns, but they have been one of the most successful team in the comp in recent years. Losing Houston is huge, so maybe something changes, but I still think they'll be right up there. At number 3 is Brisbane, the 2024 Premiers. Like the Dogs, they were a very exciting team, and they too got heaps better as the season went on. They came all the way from 12th to win the flag, which is a credit to the players and to Fagan. Their list hasn't changed too much from the draft period. The big loss is Joe Daniher, who has retired from football quite early, but they have amassed some good draft picks and have guns in Levi Ashcroft and Sam Marshall, who should be joining them in 2025. I think we will see Brisbane right up there again next year. Geelong is considered by many as the most successful team of the AFL era, and I think they will maintain this next year, coming in 2nd in my early ladder prediction. They have a pretty good list, a great coach, and a great game style. They have the fortress in GMHBA Stadium. They are one of, if not the best recruiting teams in the competition, and should pick up some great rookies in the draft. Now we add on the fact that they have picked up Bailey Smith for way unders, and I simply cannot see them doing badly next season. People used to joke about Geelong as a retirement home, but I don't think they can anymore. This is a club built around the Max Holmeses and Lawson Humphreys. Hawkins and Tuohy have retired, and I see that as a bit of a changing of the guard. I expect to see the Cats as big flag contenders, finally for the number 1 spot, and you probably know which team it is. I've tried to avoid bias, but I couldn't not put the Mighty Hawk in first place. I imagine plenty of you watching are disagreeing with me right now, thinking they are overrated and overhyped and will have a reality check next year. But I don't think this is the case at all. It isn't crazy for me to say they can come first, because the reality is from round 8 and onwards, they did. If you followed any footy last year, you know what they are capable of. And with such a young team, there is just plenty of natural progression that is almost guaranteed to happen. The other thing is that their one big weakness was key defenders. And guess what? They just signed 2 awesome key defenders. That is the showing of a great team and management. Under Sam Mitchell, I think the young and exciting Hawks really should be coming in as flag favourites in the 2025 season. Feel free to disagree in the comments and let me know what you think. Before I go, just make sure to subscribe to help me out, and do yourself a favour too. Thanks for watching the whole thing. Bye everyone.